Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris Maloney. Episode 14 of TNT, the Thursday Night Throwdown, taking place. It is Thursday, April the 16th, 2020. Tough friggin' past couple of days. I'm going to move this mic back because I adjusted my setup. I can hear my poof. So anyways, alongside Shawn Bates of the Scumbags of Wrestling, as always. Shawn, how's your week been personally outside of the wrestling business? How was your Easter?
Not bad. It was quiet. Hopefully people got to see the 100th episode podcast that we did on Sunday, and then I cooked dinner, and it's just been the regular week. It's dragging. Isolation while still working is long.
Yeah, I spent 20 minutes in a Walmart parking lot, or not parking lot lineup. That was not fun today. It's freaking cold here in London too. It felt like -2 or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, winter's still hanging around, which there's nothing to enjoy anyway, so why not?
Yeah. So anyway, lots of news taking place the past couple of days, today, yesterday especially. So we're going to do this roundtable style. We're going to add Steven first because Jones has disappeared from his camera. So we're going to add Steven in. Steven, how you doing?
Good. It's been a weird day here in Toronto. We had sunny and snow all at the same time, like a blizzard snowstorm while it was sunny. It's been very odd day.
Yeah, it looks like Jones is back. I'm going to add him as well. Jones, how are you?
I am pretty good. I am fantastic. I'm kind of digging this COVID thing. It's kind of boring, but I'm into week 5 of doing nothing.
No, that's not true. Jones was doing arts and crafts before he came on air.
Well, besides arts and crafts.
So, guys, if you're watching live, feel free to give your comments, whether it be on YouTube or Facebook. If you're listening later on, feel free to send us an email, thursdaynightThrowdown@outlook.com. Let us know what you thought of the show. Anyways, the big news of the week on top of everything that's been taking place is this right here. So you look behind me, you'll see there's a WrestleMania shirt. There's there for a reason. New Jersey Devils hat going on as well. Howard Finkel passed away today, 69 years old. Everybody knew him as the Fink. One of the most gifted guys as far as personas go, as far as the 80s, even the 90s went. A huge part of the Hulk Hogan era, Legends House, of course. He was from Newark, New Jersey, hence the Devils hat that I've got going on. But I'll just get your guys' memories just one by one, starting with you there, Shawn, of the Fink. 69 years old, still kind of young. But what's your biggest memory of Howard Finkel?
Well, the fact that he basically was at every WrestleMania from number 1 until probably at least 30, if not more, he attended, and just all his announcements that he made. They made sure he was part of, in the later years, announcing the Hall of Fame class to welcome them out. Maybe a little bit regrettable memory of Fink would be the tuxedo matches he had with good old Downtown Bruno, Harvey Whippleman. But yeah, great career and legend.
All right, Steven, how about you? Memories of Howard Finkel. What's the one that stands out the most, maybe?
I remember as a kid that the voice, the Saturday Night Main Events, listening to the introductions and just like Shawn said, the Hall of Fame, him introducing all the Hall of Famers. Again, also the tuxedo matches. I like to forget about those until Shawn brings them up. But that's the first memory I have as a kid, him introducing wrestlers, and just the voice just drew you in and you wanted to sit and watch whatever was going on.
All right, Jones, how about you? Biggest memory of Howard Finkel?
The best ring announcer, especially for that time, and even now, most of them. Again, he could announce the crappiest wrestler and still make him sound legit because it's coming out of his mouth. He was like a mascot to the WWE over the years. And I remember as a kid when wrestling would come to town, when he wasn't there, it just wasn't as good as when he was there.
Yeah, he was basically Vince's first employee when he actually took over from his dad's company. And then just the fact that one of his last memories that people have been sharing was him doing the counter to Alberto Del Rio's announcer, I forget his name, Rodriguez, and he did the announcement at Survivor Series for CM Punk to come out. And then, of course, a lot of people also, and not just because he's just passed away, but think he's better than even Michael Buffer.
Yeah, Michael Buffer, Bruce Buffer. I tell you this, Howard Finkel, it was funny because I always thought him and Mean Gene were brothers simply because of the fact they had the same looks, same heights, everything else. And then all of a sudden you learn in wrestling, they're just said that that's what the announcer looked like in the WWF. The biggest thing about it was the fact is, when you take Howard Finkel, there were certain elements about him that made him the best. And one of them was when somebody won a championship and that and new came out, you know what I mean? I can't do it justice by saying anything at all. And I'm not going to get kicked off of YouTube again. So I'm not going to be playing any clips, but long story short, yeah, he was the best. And when he was, announcing somebody coming down to the ring, or like I said, a championship, or all of a sudden, anything that he had part of, and like Shawn had said, he was Vince McMahon's first, I think, official employee, and he had gone way back to the WWF. So anyways, long story short, 69 years old, way too soon, to be passing away, but he had suffered some health issues. So tributes all over Twitter and Facebook today and stuff like that. And WWE had about 90 photos on their website as far as Howard Finkel goes. But hashtag RIP Howard Finkel, the Fink. James Finley says RIP Howard as well. So thank you very much for that comment.
I also noticed one other thing that when I was scrolling through today, other superstars have been posting their pictures with the Fink. And for some reason, Jimmy Corderas felt the need to justify him posting it because somebody was really dumb and rude, pointing out that he was trying to apparently get over by posting a picture of himself with his friend. And so that's like totally utterly ridiculous. And people should just be honored the fact that they knew Fink and, share their friendship with him.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. And the fact is, when you take somebody like Jimmy Corderas and you go back in time and you go back to some of these early WrestleManias, Corderas is a huge part of that. Some of the matches in this and that. And right before Mania, one of the biggest matches in the world for Edge was Edge versus Taker. Who was the referee in that match? Jimmy Corderas. You go to Jimmy Corderas' book, and that shot that's on the cover of his book is from that match there. So anyways, we go from bad news as far as the wrestling world goes to bad news as far as a wrestling fan goes. And what I'm going to do is put up another hashtag here, and it's basically just quotes. And man, I can't even spell. So, all right. So I'm going to get rid of that temporarily. I'm going to say the audio version of it while I fix this. This I did not prepare before there we go. That's a little bit better. So right now on the screen, hashtag essential business is a lead into a lot of shit that we're about to talk about. So I'll put it this way. So from what I understand, from what I know, WWE was deemed as essential business. And that's why they're running shows Monday, Wednesday, Friday down in Florida at the Performance Center. They were going to do tape shows, and then last minute they were like, nope, we're going to go live, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden the wrestling media journalists, fans are like, how are they doing this? Florida's been shut down. Well, lo and behold, you got Mr. Donald Trump down there, and one of his I don't know what she actually is to him besides just being part of his party, is Linda McMahon, Vince McMahon's wife, who happened to donate $18.5 million towards the Florida economy. So that being said, they're deemed necessary. Then all of a sudden there's another freaking comment that comes out, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, hey, Donald Trump appoints Vince McMahon as well as Dana White, Major League Baseball guys, everything else as, what was the actual term to it?
They're like advisors to restart the economy.
Yeah, to restart the economy. So essentially, you've got these guys who UFC and WWE.
Uh-oh. We lost them. So, yeah, as Chris is saying, you got basically the guys that are trying to keep on going, even though everybody else is shut down. You got Dana White wanting to buy Fight Island, like he's been watching too many movies in the 90s and wants to bring it to reality. You got Vince McMahon, who is running WWE, all trying to advise Donald Trump on how to restart the economy, along with other sports people who are just that sports people, not people who know about economy. Back to Chris, now he's back.
Could you guys hear me at all?
No.
It's only the second time I've done this show,
So,
but normally I have
picked
a separate Chrome window open, but anyways, my fault. The joys of a live show and me still learning this. But anyways, long story short, Trump's heavily involved with Dana White, Vince McMahon right now. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, they're the guys who are basically going to bring back the economy, admits failures that have happened in their life. Well, lo and behold, XFL shuts down, bankruptcy a couple days ago. You've got all of a sudden Vince McMahon yesterday going on a cutting spree as far as agents go, personalities go, writers go, and yet this is somebody who's supposed to fix the economy. What I'm going to do right now is just bring up a list of the names that have been released, or and Stephen, you pronounce this right, furlough, is that right?
Furloughed.
So I've been furloughed. So this was from yesterday. Guys who've been released. So Drake Maverick, Kurt Hawkins, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, EC3, Leo Rush, Eric Young, Heath Slater, Aiden English, Kurt Angle, Sarah Logan, referee Mike Chioda, who has been there since the 80s, Eric Rowan, Primo, Epico, Mike Kanellis, Maria Kanellis, Zack Ryder, No Way Jose, and Rusev. So all those guys gone from the WWE to do whatever the heck they want to. Then you've got producers that have been released. So Lance Storm, Billy Kidman, Mike Rotunda, David Finley, Pat Buck, Sean Devare, Scott Armstrong, Sarah Stock, and Shane Helms. Then you go on to a couple more names that have been released. Ace Steel, who not a lot of people know that name, but he trained both CM Punk and Colt Cabana. Who else we got? Serena Deeb, who was part of the CM Punk alliance at one point. And then a guy named Kendo Kashin. There was a writer that was released as well. Not sure of her name at the moment. And then a couple more names from NXT. MJ Jenkins. We've got, who else was it?
Deanna
Purrazzo. And then there's one more guy's name that I'm looking, Alexander Jaksic.
They released more today, too.
They released more today?
Yeah, I'll send you the link.
I have to go looking for it. But all right. Anyways, guys, when it comes down to it, I want to get your thoughts as a whole on this. So we've got Vince McMahon, Dana White being part of this group that Donald Trump's going to put the economy back together after COVID. You've got Vince McMahon releasing as many people as he has and furloughing them. You've got the XFL bankruptcy that took place. You've got New Japan on the other side, who are going on a whole front with other promotions in Japan to try to tackle this as a country. And then you've got the UFC coming back in May to run the Apex facility while WWE is running the Performance Center. Guys, your thoughts on this as a whole, and whether or not just your personal thoughts on the whole mess that's taking place.
Jones, you want to try to go first?
Sure. As far as Linda McMahon, as far as I know, she's part of the Trump team to get him reelected. So it was something to do with his campaign that donated the money. From what I read, the other with McMahon being appointed to get the U.S. economy going, I think that was more in the sports and entertainment field, because there was a whole bunch of sports people that they listed, and the report I read said that they were going to be focusing on the sports part, not other things. So, and as far as them recording all these TV shows and doing it live, hey, however they want to grease the wheel, Trump, McMahon, they're dirty businessmen. They are very smart. I think they do care about certain things, but they'll stab anyone in the back to keep rolling. And that's why Vince has been around for so long, is because he knows who to backstab and how to get them back, and vice versa. People backstab him. So of course he's going to do some dirty business, paying people off or whatever to get his show on. They grease the wheel. I personally have no problem with that. As far as business, yeah, that doesn't look good, and Trump is just making it worse and worse for himself to get reelected.
Hey, Jones, your thoughts on the XFL? And we've been talking about this. I think we were talking about it on Sunday and then beforehand. But Vince McMahon went into the XFL saying that WWE wasn't going to be part of it, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, 23.5 Class B shares were owned by the WWE. So your thoughts on Vince McMahon lying about that as well?
Well, that if that's all true, I would imagine then he's gonna owe all those businessmen who put money into it because he lied about them not being involved. Because that would change the picture.
So are you surprised that McMahon lied about it?
I'm not surprised at all. Not at all. I wouldn't trust Vince McMahon whatsoever. However, he makes people money and he puts out a great product. So who might argue?
All right, we get a comment from Adam Barna, which I'll get to you momentarily here. Stephen, your thoughts on the whole XFL mess, the whole Donald Trump, Linda McMahon thing going on, and then all the releases that took place yesterday when apparently WWE has $500 million just sitting there to protect them. I mean, what are your thoughts on it all?
I mean, I've had to furlough all my employees that work for me, so I understand that part, but in business, there's a lot of shady business that goes on. We all know that. That money was a donation. It has nothing to do with getting live tapings. Nothing at all. So, like, it doesn't surprise me. You're talking Trump and the McMahons. They didn't get to where they are by being on the up and up. Not everything they've ever done is on the up and up. It is what it is. I mean, do I agree with it? No, but welcome to business. So it is what it is. I mean, I've heard there's more cuts coming. They wanted to get up to 100 cuts from what I read. What they've cut so far saves them like a $703,000 a month. So, I mean, if they want to get to 100 cuts, that's a lot more people going to be cut. I mean, the XFL filing for bankruptcy does not surprise me. I think I said that on Sunday on the Scumbag podcast. It doesn't surprise me at all. They owe people a couple $1 million to different people. I mean, they're going to pay pennies on the dollar. It's smart business, unfortunately. People aren't going to like that, but filing for bankruptcy, they can pay pennies on the dollar, run away with the extra money. I mean, WWE owning some of the stock, it'll be interesting to see what documents come out off of that, because there'll be lawsuits. If the board didn't know or the stockholders didn't know, there'll be lawsuits. But I'm sure there's documents saying that everyone knew that WWE was owning 20-something% of it, and no one knew the global pandemic was going to come. So it is what it is.
All right, Shawn, I'll give you thoughts on it, but as well as is this it for Vince McMahon and the WWE as we know it? I mean, when COVID's done and all of this has kind of boiled over, are we going to see a new WWE? And can McMahon kind of swim his way out of this? Now, we know the whole big steroid trials, everything that happened with Chris Benoit, the whole drug-related stuff that happened in the 90s, 2000s, but is this something he's not going to be able to come back from?
Okay, wow. How much time do we got? Because I've been talking about this for earlier today with Nathan and Alex. The whole donations and all that to Florida, way too coincidental to not be looked at as a bribe. So they're going to have to find a way of figuring that one out without it looking like it's a bribe, because optics-wise, it's too clear that it's that. So if they found a way around it, it is what it is. The XFL filing for bankruptcy, it's kind of understandable, the full shutdown and letting everybody go. Vince was looking to waste, I guess, $300 million over 2 years for the whole thing, original view. But with this down, why throw good money after bad money? So the whole bankruptcy thing, as Steven said, it's business. Good for him, bad for those who are owed the money. Now, looking at the bigger picture of WWE in general, because I'm trying to make this a lot quicker than I would if I was normally talking to you. The essential service that they said that they are, I can get because it's escapism, and we kind of need that, and that's what WrestleMania did provide. What I don't agree with, and I said this on Sunday, them going live, I don't agree with, because I'd rather see them stockpile like AEW did, get their stuff in the can, let the talent go home for 5-6 weeks, whatever it is, and be safe, be healthy, bring them back in, do another group of tapings. What doesn't look good is if Universal, NBC Universal, and Fox are ones pushing Vince to have to do these live shows. Their contracts say that to get your $500,000 or $500 million deal that you have per year, or whatever it totals out to, that they're only allowed to have 3 taped episodes per year. That includes the European tour and Christmas, basically, and the rest that has to be live. Now, in this pandemic time, those contracts should be seriously looked after and looked into, with the fact that USA and Fox should just be happy to get content. There's no spoilers getting out because it's done at the Performance Center. So as long as they're able to provide new content, whether it's taped or not, that should be good, and looks good on them to at least allow them to tape and go home. If they're the ones pushing for these live shows, that makes them look as bad as WWE for having it happen. So Universal and Fox need to step up and say one way or another if they're pushing for that. Looking at the release guys, some of them are obviously why you would release them. They weren't being used. Some wanted to get out of their contracts, like the Good Brothers and the Canellises or Bennett's. Rusev, he was still negotiating a deal. He's not signed, so we're letting you go. But unlike the Revival, these were not immediate releases. These were just releases. So they got a 90-day no-compete clause as of their release day. If things happen and they're able to go back on the road, who's to say they don't get pulled back in? The agents that got let go, they're just laid off until they get back on the road. There's no need to have 12 producers there at the Performance Center for a TV show that's not traveling. So it's understandable on that.
Just making sure you're done this time. Yeah, I was going to say you had the potential to go real vent on that one. Anyways, this here is about all I'm going to play. As Jones is doing some head nodding. What was that Saturday Live group back in the 90s that did the whole head nod thing?
With
Night at the Roxbury, wasn't it? Yeah, Night at the Roxbury. But anyways, one of the questions we got from Adam Barna, who do you guys think is the biggest potential get for another company from the list of talent producers from yesterday's releases? As Shawn had said, the releases, I can't see it being any different than a normal release. So the fact is the guys are going to have 90 days before they can do anything about it. The biggest toss-up for me is Gallows and Anderson, and I would probably say, what's his face there, Zack Ryder. Zach, no, he got put over by Cody on Twitter or Instagram, one of the two, saying that he's one of the most gifted and, his time's still yet to come. Gallows and Anderson, whether or not they go back to New Japan, whether or not they go back to, or whether or not they go to AEW. Shawn, you got a thought?
Actually, Anderson put out a very quick tweet video of an airplane going from Santa Monica to Japan and the machine gun. So he is back in Japan.
So he's actually going back to Japan. So, but it is social media.
That's what he put out.
All right, so we'll have to wait and see. It's funny that you actually mentioned that, because now all of a sudden I'm thinking the hamster wheel spinning. When Brock Lesnar got released, he wasn't allowed to go anywhere else. So what did he do? He ended up going MMA, but the fact is, at one point in time, he was the IWGP Heavyweight Champion of the World for New Japan Pro Wrestling. So I don't know if New Japan is actually part of that 90-day no compete clause, if they can go over there and do their thing. Anybody?
I'm thinking that they're 90 days everywhere, but I'm wondering how many of these released superstars are just furloughed. Even though they're say released, how many are actually, is it more of a, we have 90 days to call you back if we can?
And they could probably pick up government money.
Well, definitely with the ones that are agents, because if you've ever heard of what they class as the independent contractors, the talent that are in the ring that actually do the wrestling are listed as independent contractors. But people like announcers and producers are official employees of WWE. So with them being laid off, they actually qualify for unemployment insurance as opposed to the talent being independent contractors.
And from what I read,
different levels in WWE.
The only agent that was released was Kurt Angle. Everyone else was furloughed.
Yeah, Angle was on that list.
Talent that got released. Everybody else was on the furloughed.
Yeah, it was just Angle that was released out of the producers. Everyone else is just furloughed.
All right, so we'll keep this one quick. I'm just gonna go through the names one more time. All I want to know is from your guys' opinions, who has the biggest shot of making it, and where are we gonna see them? So once again, Drake Maverick, Kurt Hawkins, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, EC3, Leo Rush, Eric Young, Heath Slater, Aiden English, Kurt Angle, Sarah Logan, Mike Chioda, Eric Rowan, Primo Epico, Maria Kanellis, Mike Kanellis, Zach Ryder, No Way Jose, and Rusev. So where are we going to see them, and where are they going to make the biggest impact?
Sorry, go ahead.
Jones, of all that list that I just mentioned, who are you familiar with?
Well, I think the ref there.
You think he's
or is that not a ref? Mike Chioda.
You think he's going to head to AEW?
Oh yeah.
The ref that actually knows what they're doing.
Yeah, we'll have rules.
I think Rusev would find a home in AEW easy.
All right. So of the list then, Shawn and Steven, without Carl Anderson that you guys already mentioned, are we going to see any of the big names over there in New Japan as opposed to AEW?
I think you'll find Luke Gallo goes to New Japan, because that just makes the most sense for them to go together. I don't think anyone else goes to Japan. Not that I can think of off the top. Maybe Mike Kanellis, because he does have history over there, but I don't know if he wants to travel that far.
Well, especially with a newborn as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. To answer that one, I can only see really the Good Brothers going over to New Japan. I could see people like Heath Slater and a couple others looking at NWA, because Heath would definitely fit in with that. You got room for Impact, so you could see EC3 going there.
I see EC3 at AEW, which... Oh, what the hell?
Somebody's getting a call.
Not me.
Not me.
I just got a new phone, but it wasn't mine, so I don't know what the heck that was.
Oh, it was probably mine.
And
just rang.
And I think EC3 ends up in AEW, which is unfortunate.
But they can't pick up everybody. That's the thing.
Well, no, but I think Mike Bennett and Maria Kanellis ends up back in ROH.
Oh, yeah. I see them in ROH. As Maloney had said, you can have Ryder over in AEW because he's another one of Cody's friends. Exactly, but then we have more couples split between the two organizations.
Useless.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
then maybe even Rockstar Spud could be competition for Marco Stunt.
He's still in
Oh,
the
Jesus.
he's still in that cruiserweight tournament.
Yeah,
Which
that's the odd part because he is still contracted to fulfill his obligations to the tournament before being sent away, and he had his tearful tweet video the other day.
so I wonder if this, because I watched CNN before this, and they're starting the stupid normalization of the USA, which is going to be a disaster, but that's not this. I wonder if if this is over before, does he get to stay then? I just don't get it. I really don't understand. If you've released him, let him go.
Yeah,
Because what happens if he gets hurt?
exactly. And I think that's what brings me to the fact that the whole 90-day thing, that they can be brought back in at any time. I'm just going to mute Jonesy at the moment while he figures out his phone issues. But yeah, hopefully they figure that out, and maybe 90 days comes and goes and they are able to bring some of them back, and those that are definitely been dead weight, because the Colognes, hello, they were still employed. They were working down in Puerto Rico or something like that, but still had WWE contracts. Who knew?
Yeah, well, that's that. I mean, that's how much of a big roster they actually have. So I'm gonna say this without trying to piss off Baron Corbin, but are you guys, anybody that, are you surprised that wasn't released? And the other thing too is the fact is you guys talk about separate couples again. Well, here we go, Rusev and Lana. You know what I mean? So they're doing that once again. But is there anybody on the roster that is being misused, or you just, they should have been done a long time ago that you thought would be on that list to be released? Now, Steven, you had said there's probably going to be 100 names. I'd heard that earlier today as well. But from yesterday, first cuts, are you guys surprised of anybody that wasn't on that list?
Looks like they were just cutting at the moment Raw guys primarily. They haven't really hit SmackDown or NXT to a full extent. So I can see more going by Saturday after they performed on Raw on SmackDown tomorrow night.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. One of the names I thought that was probably going to be on that list was Tamina Snuka, which is, I mean, when you think about the amount of injuries that she's had and this and that, she's a sloppy wrestler in the ring. She's got basically 3 moves, and that's about it. You guys catch what's that?
Once again, she's SmackDown. You let her go against Sasha Banks tomorrow night, and they can determine whether or not she's staying. Like, even some of these releases that I was talking earlier to Alex and Nathan about, maybe some of these people who did get released are ones who were not willing to do the travel each week to go to Florida, and instead of sitting at home collecting a paycheck, Vince is just like, here's your choice. You can get released and do this, or you can perform. And if they weren't ready to perform, then here's your option. Like, we don't know all the ins and outs. We're just seeing what names have been released. I was surprised in a way that Sarah Rowe or Sarah Logan got released when they're setting up the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders, and they just got Bianca Belair with the Street Profits. They could have put Sarah with her husband and had those interactions, but
that would only make sense, though.
Exactly.
All right, so 2 more controversial subjects. You guys can pick and choose whether or not you want to comment on one or the other or both. So number 1 is the Jimmy Snuka documentary from last night. If you guys watched it, your thoughts. And number 2, what I had heard about this, I kind of friggin' shook my head. Daniel Bryan apparently went down, wrestled at WrestleMania, and then went back to Washington, sat there in a hotel room, Jake the Snake Roberts style, for 2 weeks before he was able to see his wife and kid again, just to be able to be part of WrestleMania. So your guys' thoughts on both or one or the other, Daniel Bryan as well as Jimmy Superfly Snuka. Jones, you still there? You want to comment on either one of those? Would you, if you wife and kid, would you take the chance to you're shaking your head no. Enlighten me. Well, maybe that's just a no. Forget about it. All right, so Jones is
That
back.
was a no.
Okay, Steven, your thoughts on Daniel Bryan and working WrestleMania, but avoiding his wife and kids, for 2 weeks, and as well as the Snuka documentary of whether or not you saw it.
I did not watch Dark Side of the Ring yet. I'm torn about that one if I'm going to watch it. But I bet you'll find if you polled all the guys who wrestled on WrestleMania, all those guys did that. None of them could have went back to their families for 14 days. So they all self-quarantined somewhere, whether it was a hotel room, a guest room at the house. They wouldn't have seen their families. Would I have done it? No, but they all have to make their own decisions. I mean, we don't know what money was thrown around for these people. Vince McMahon could have just written Daniel Bryan a check and said, "Tell me what to write, pal." To get it. Like, we don't know what the money was thrown around. I mean, money doesn't make everything go around, but right now, when people may not get paychecks for months on end, money could be a thing. So would I have done it? No, but am I going to think less of someone who did it? No, because it's a personal choice. I live in Toronto. I'm in one of the higher risk cities in Ontario. I mean, to go home, I'd have to quarantine for 14 days and then find someone to drive. It's a personal preference.
All right, Shawn, how about your thoughts?
Well, if I remember right, he was not on last Friday's SmackDown, was he? So while he was dedicated, obviously, enough that he wanted to be a part of the WrestleMania match and do his match with Sammy, he did the right thing by also then protecting himself and Brie with their unborn child for 14 days. But we haven't seen him yet. So he might have also had to deal with Vince that, okay, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to take an extended time away. So if it all worked out for what they're doing, because we know Roman Reigns didn't get in trouble for bowing out at WrestleMania for in the last moment, but Daniel did his work for WrestleMania, and now he's doing the family thing. So I guess in the end, it's his choice, obviously, but if it's balancing out in the end, then it's a win for everybody.
But Daniel Bryan also has a compromised immune system.
Yeah, so
he can't be traveling. Well, look at last night. Kyle O'Reilly didn't wrestle, and he has said he won't be because he's diabetic. I understand why Daniel Bryan was there for what were they there for, a week doing all those tapings?
Yeah, I think it was like three straight days or something like that.
So that, I bet you if they would have been taping like a month's worth, he might have come back to then quarantine but who knows? But I'm not surprised that some of these guys worked WrestleMania.
All right, so 2 questions for you guys. Number one, Raw is right now under 2 million viewers a week. That is supposed to be their strong show. SmackDown's not doing too much better. Would you guys pull the plug on this? Because, I mean, when you talk about contracts and stuff like that, one of the things that you talk about is the fact is they have to put on so many shows a year. So 49, I think, was the number that I heard as far as the live shows went. But do you think there's any kind of contract that states, hey, you got to put on this many ratings, blah, 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 blah? If you owned a wrestling company, what would it take for you guys to just shut down during this pandemic? And the other question for you guys is as well, is it if you owned wrestling companies, realistically, because we've talked to Clarence, who's part of MWW, as well as Doug Trenter. What are your guys' realistic thoughts as far as wrestling as a whole goes? When we gotta go see it live again?
I think we don't see anything for live. I'm guessing August, unfortunately. So
live as in basically fans are allowed to attend a wrestling event again. You're thinking August?
Yeah.
Right. Except Shawn, your agreement with that?
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it was any sooner. Like the craziness on the news of Trump wanting to open up the borders and let Canadians and Americans go as they please very soon. That's fairy tale land. It's not going to happen anytime soon. They got to get everything under control. And even if a vaccine is found, it's going to take a while to patent it and make sure it actually works. And to risk it going another full-blown thing again, then you're looking at even longer. Just got to do what's done and needing to be done. As far as you were saying, unfortunately, there is millions on the line with this whole record or not record. And, I'm betting a lot of superstars would rather like to work and then go home. But if they're held to these contracts, and that's where it goes back to what I said earlier, it's up to NBC Universal and Fox to say, hey, this is not a requirement. We'll be happy with just content, because they have plenty of content with even the WWE Network. They allowed that to happen on FS1 the other day, showing the Ruthless Aggression series, and they got some decent ratings. So if they can just pull out stuff like that, which they're great at post-production stuff and showing their library, which they have a vast amount of, then that should be able to suffice. But until they come out and say as well that they're okay with just any content, it seems as though WWE is being held accountable for those 49 episodes that need to be live.
Hey, Jones, what's it going to take for you to attend a wrestling show again?
Me, I'd go today. To me, I'm not too worried about getting it or anything like that. As far as live shows, maybe the independents might be allowed to do a show within the year, but someone's calling me again. There we go. But as far as big events, you're not seeing nothing until at least 2021, because they're still like 18 months away from a vaccine. Until that vaccine comes out, or they really figure out, everyone that go. Like, imagine a stadium of 20,000 people. Every single one of those people has to wear a mask, glove up, and everything. It's not going to happen. That's the only way that they're going to allow that many people. Like festivals, fairs, they're all done this year. People keep talking about when it's going to return. Right now, it's like an indefinite suspension until there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and that's not for a long, long time.
Not according to what they announced. Donald Trump and his married. Oh,
you can't listen to Trump, because Trump will say one thing, and then everything that he has said that he wants to do, he has already reneged on, because of his advisor are going, like, that's the problem with Trump. He just opens his mouth and he's going with his feeling, his gut feeling as a businessman, but not what's actually reality.
Well, this came from the two doctor advisors. They have a 3-point plan now for all the states to reopen. And some of these states, they've already said,
they can reopen, but they won't have big events. They won't be able to. Yeah,
phase 3, they're allowed to go back to the old way.
Well, maybe in America, but that won't happen here in Canada.
We got political on this show.
Wow.
Anyways,
okay.
Hold on. I got to share something, because just before I forget. So I'm at Walmart earlier today. I had to wait in the lineup, which is, the normal right now. I'm going to get milk. You guys remember the game Frogger from the 80s?
Oh, yeah, I love that game.
Where all of a sudden you had to go up, and all of a sudden if you get stuck, you kind of come back and then take another route and blah, 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 blah. So guys there waiting for milk, and one guy's in the, right in front of the door. And Walmart's got this policy right now, 6 feet away. And the guy is like jumping in, and all of a sudden somebody cuts in front of him, and they jump straight back, and it's like Frogger style and everything else. And he starts slamming on things in the middle of Walmart. He's like, what the, and this and that. And if you think about it, it's the mentality, I think, of the media, as well as who you're surrounded by. That, I mean, Stephen, you're talking about watching the news and stuff like that, and all of a sudden you'll see, people saying this and that about Trump. But my wife to me yesterday says, hey, as much as Trump wants to try to get life back to normal, she was like, put the military on the borders, because the fact is we as a country in Canada can sit there and all of a sudden clear this up. But the fact is, if we open the borders and the States hasn't, and it's vice versa, the other way around, you know what I mean? Anyways, this thing is making people nuts. And it's interesting to know how people react in situations like this when you've never dealt with it before. You know what I mean? Like, I will go to work and deal with people, and then all of a sudden go to the Loblaws and stuff like that and be like, holy crap, people are staying their distance from me. And then by the time I get home to see my wife, I'm like, holy crap, get away from me. I was like, oh, wait a second, that's my wife. It's like, but it's that hopscotch mentality. And watching that guy play Frogger today at Walmart, it was absolutely unreal. Personally, it's like I asked you, Jones, I said, whether or not you're going to attend a show, as soon as you can. You're like, yes. Shawn, Steven, you guys on that same route? Like, I mean, you know how it is as a wrestling show when you're sitting there side by side with people. Next thing you know, you've got somebody jumping from the ring out into the crowd, and you're moving, and you don't care who you run into and this and that. Has your mentality changed through this? I mean, you say maybe no, it hasn't, but do you think, and what are you going to do if you go to a show and next thing you know, you see somebody that you've recognized, like say like a Gord or a Nathan or whatever the case may be, and they freak out all of a sudden because somebody's bumped into them? I mean, do you think that shit's going to happen? And how are the promoters going to deal with that sort of stuff?
Oh, it's going to happen.
People shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
If they're feeling like they're going to freak out, then they shouldn't go there. It's all being an adult, and if you feel that you can do what needs to be done, which everybody should, and be comfortable, then you do what you are feeling responsible for. If you're feeling sick, you be responsible and don't go to the show. But if you are paranoid about somebody running into you, don't go. But if not, hey, do what you want to do. Live your life cautiously, of course. Not saying go reckless, but you gotta follow through with what you want. But going a little bit backwards, we said about Florida clearing WWE to do it. That opened up the floodgates for any sports or Dana White and MMA to purge into Florida. Do you think that's going to happen with other sports saying we can do it without a crowd?
Well, look at the boxing guy, Bob something, trying to rent the Performance Center for a boxing show, which he's probably going to end up doing that, which is...
Vince will want the money.
Yeah, I'm sure it won't be cheap either. So, I mean, I'll go to a show. I'm not that worried. Will I high five the wrestlers? No, but that's just because I don't want to run to the washroom and have to sanitize my hands. Like, I won't be worried about anything like that. I mean, we all have to be grown adults. We all have to assume that everyone, if you're not feeling well, don't go.
But that's why they put out these rules, is because people like us will go to an event and then someone may hop on us and then we get it and spread it. And that's why, again, I personally, I don't foresee any sports or big events until, well, they're saying now the summer 2021. And at this point, I believe it. Like, I know all summer festivals are being canceled.
Yeah, it's.
And so, I mean, you can't have a festival. You ain't having an indoor arena show.
Well,
small ones, 50 people, you might see that. Like the indies might be able to get away with it, but the big arenas and hockey and all that, forget it.
They're already talking about starting baseball and then by June, July.
Well, yeah, but there's not going to be an audience.
Yeah, by June, July, they're already talking about letting fans in and going back all the time.
I would bet a lot of money on that. That ain't happening.
All right, Jones, I'm gonna step in to be referee just for a moment, so Steven can get.
I'm not mad. I'm just saying, from what I've seen, I don't see it whatsoever.
No, I want to get him riled up because the name Kenny Omega is going to come up very shortly here. So
here it comes.
All right. So, anyways, before I say that, Impact Wrestling Rebellion 2020 taking place April 21st and 28th. WWE Money in the Bank's taking place May the 10th, AEW Double or Nothing 2020 is taking place May the 23rd. Format's obviously going to be changed for all these things, but there is wrestling that's going to be on TV and pay-per-view. AEW's got tapings all the way through May, mid-May right now. Impact's got 3 months, I do believe. We'll go into AEW. Steven's shaking his head already. I even said the word Omega again.
What, doesn't he like Omega?
No, who cares about Impact? That's useless. I tried to watch it last Saturday, and I messaged Shawn, what the sweet mother of Jesus is this horseshit?
All right, so we'll segue into this. So AEW this week, 683,000. Main event was Moxley versus Hager, empty arena, no holds barred match for the AEW Championship. NXT this week, 692. They win the week again. Main event was Riddle, and Thatcher defeating the Undisputed Era. So no Kyle O'Reilly in this one because of the fact he's got diabetes. He's not crossing the borders. And then Ciampa gets attacked by somebody known as Karrion Kross, who is the former Killer Kross. So going into talk about AEW, I am a huge fan of this guy right here. So if you see that's Bullet Club. If I go up further, it's Kenny Omega. Anyways, I think it's on the side here as well. If people, oh no, it's on the back. So when was it? Was it last week or was your show? Was Scumbags 100? Wasn't it, Shawn?
The Scumbags 100 that we talked about last week's AEW with the spectacular tag team match for the Best Friends title.
Okay, so being a fan of wrestling since 1980, I have seen quite a bit. I've seen Gold Dust Stunts. I have seen Chainsaw Charlie and Mick Foley as Mankind. When you talk about Omega and Nakazawa taking on the Best Friends, yes, on paper the match looks okay, but then Nakazawa starts doing this shit, and then next thing you know, the match gets blown way out of proportion for the time that we're living in, because I guarantee if we weren't living in this time right now, that match wouldn't have taken place the way it is, because Nakazawa would never get the exposure. So that doesn't bother me. DDT Pro Wrestling, the way that happens, Nakazawa, whatever the case may be. The offense that I took on Shawn's Scumbags of 100 show was Omega. So I've got to go to Steven right now and give him the floor and to try to convince me of why Kenny Omega sucks.
Jazz hands and the stupid pointing. And do I think he's a complete trash bag? No. But he does shit like this stupid tag match that there's weeks and weeks and weeks that I enjoy what he's doing on AEW, and then that horse shit comes on and I lose all interest doing. I couldn't even tell you if he was on the show on yesterday because it's horseshit. You have to admit that match was complete horseshit.
So is it Kenny Omega and AEW that you're picking on, or is it Kenny Omega as a whole?
It's Kenny Omega and AEW.
Okay.
I've seen New Japan matches that I was blown away by, but in AEW he does stuff that I can watch and I'm into, and then he does that stupid tag team match.
Well, as I said to you, Chris, before we went on the air, involving this, his reputation is getting tarnished each and every time he does stupid things like that. The best in the world and the top guy in the PWI 500, deservedly so, and 7-star matches if you're a Dave Meltzer fan.
Oh, I'll give him 15 stars. Fuck Meltzer.
Yeah, but if he's getting 17 million stars for his performances in Japan, but now he's doing this baby oil and thong crap with Nakazawa just because you're friends. Don't embarrass yourself. Okay, hold on.
And Jones, you can comment on this as well, because I'm going to put it in the era that everybody understands. Road Warriors Legion of Doom, one of the most dominant tag teams in the history of professional wrestling, no matter if you go AWA, NWA, WCW, WWE, WWF, whatever the case may be. The way that went down, and the whole draw situation, and Sonny coming in for LOD 2000, the way they basically said "fuck you" to Hawk. Do you guys think that tarnished their reputation in the long run?
Not like the horse that I watched last Wednesday.
At least you're persistent. I'll give you that much.
Took a thong out and jammed in the guy. That was stupid. Do I agree with getting rid of Hawk and putting draws in? No,
Yeah, but the way they got rid of Hawk, though,
I-
being an alcoholic, falling off a fucking
that was
almost-
stupid. That real dumb. But let's go back to the horse shit from last week. He fucking put baby oil on his chest, and then the chops wouldn't work. And Kenny Omega was okay with being part of that. And the finish of the match was him pulling a thong out, putting it on his hand, and putting it on the guy's face. How can Kenny Omega be okay with being in something stupid? And I'm sure he helped produce that shit. How can you be okay as a Kenny Omega fan that he was in that horseshit? Does that not make him look like a retard? And I don't use that word. It makes him look dumb.
And I'm seeing Jonesy's face. He looks stunned that this actually happened.
Well, no, I when you're saying all that, and actually, I think I dig that guy, but with Hawk, yeah, that was bad. But with the way that Kenny Omega is, and I didn't see any of what he was saying, but describing it, it reminds me of Japanese wrestling. You watch a lot of Japanese wrestling matches, especially in these harder core federations, whatever you want to call them. They have goofy shit like that all the time. And I think that, and it's also on TV. You got to try pretty much everything. They're trying to battle with WWE, and it ain't gonna work the way that they're doing it. But
they're battling WWE's third brand.
Yeah, I don't think that it makes Kenny Omega look maybe bad to certain fans, but as for me, Kenny Omega, it's the wrestling. It's the style that he presents. And if he does some goofy crap, like most wrestlers, especially big name wrestlers, you look at their past gimmicks and that, there's some stupid stuff that they've all done.
It wasn't on national TV.
Yeah, I know. You know what? I'm going to agree to disagree simply because of the fact is when you think of the big names in wrestling, Hulk Hogan, Randy Macho Man Savage, Ultimate Warrior, guys like that, Roddy Piper, they have all had moments that they're not proud of that they've been part of in the wrestling business. But once their career is over, they pass away, whatever the case may be, do you remember that stuff? Are you going to remember Howard Finkel for the whole big shit that happened with Harvey Whippleman? It's like, no, not necessarily, but you're going to remember him as being one of the best ring announcers in the world. And because of the matches I've seen with Kenny Omega in Japan, well before AEW, by the way, I will always be a fan of this guy. So if you put him in a match like that had Nakazawa and the whole shit show, I guess that you want to call it, you know what? I'll take that, knowing what kind of career he's had. And I'll tell you this, for people not watching, me and Steven will never agree on this topic, so we're going to move on. Anyways, long story short, I want to get your guys' thoughts. What are you doing to keep busy as far as wrestling goes right now? Because when I was on, normally every show I used to do, I go on to the my Facebook group for CWN and get listings of all the shows that were happening in Canada right now. Obviously, you can't do that right now. You know, every show that you see postponed, canceled, blah, 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 whatever the case may be. Something I've fallen in love with every Saturday night I can watch is Chris Jericho's Saturday Night Special. You guys watched any of the episodes? And if you haven't, what is keeping you guys' attention right now as far as everything goes?
I personally haven't. I've been watching the network, old Smoky Mountain, old NWA. That's really about it for wrestling. Oh, I've been trying to watch Raw, SmackDown, but that usually lasts about 30, 40 minutes, and then I get pissed off and turn it off. And then AEW, NXT, they push my limits.
Documentary-wise, you guys catch the Ric Flair one that was on with Stone Cold?
No. Yeah, I ended up watching the Broken Skull session with Rick. I kind of strategically planned watching it, knowing that my wife was going to be coming home a couple minutes as I started into it. And she might not like the wrestling part of the business, but she actually does enjoy the documentaries and the movies, because Jonesy and I got her to actually watch Beyond the Mat at his place one time. But she likes the documentary, so she actually listened to the Ric Flair Stone Cold interview, so it was pretty cool. And I'm just trying to now get her to watch the one with Edge. It was pretty good.
Hey, Shawn, I'll give you $20 right now, and this is on air, by the way. $20 goes to your wife if she will watch Kenny Omega Nakazawa Best Friends match and give her opinion. She doesn't have to be on the show, but she just has to give her opinion, and then you share it on the show next week.
Don't do that to your wife.
I guarantee you, one, she would not watch it, but if I did end up doing it, she would be giving you the same response that Steven did.
You know what? I think she's too nice for that. Huh?
She does that with some of the normal matches. Imagine putting that crap in front of her. She's going to be saying, "What are you doing?"
I'll get my wife to watch it too, and then we can share her comments.
You know, you can
keep shaking his head. All right, Jones, what have you been keeping up with as far as television or wrestling or anything like that goes right now?
I've watched some older wrestling stuff. I like to slap on some old Saturday night WCW. And I've been drawing a lot lately, and I just finished the season 4 of Ozark, or 3, whatever season they're in. If you haven't watched Ozark, it's an amazing show.
All right, and we were talking off air, and we've been trying to get this together for a couple of weeks, and I finally found out how to actually do it. But we're talking maybe doing trivia either on this show or the Scumbags of Wrestling show. So as soon as we get things figured out, we will let everybody know. But Jones is going to be in charge of that. He does have a wealth of knowledge as far as a lot of the old school stuff goes. So once it's set and ready to happen, we will find out about it either on the Scumbags or this show here. Shawn, this is your part of the show where all of a sudden you can talk about whatever the hell you want to as far as the Scumbags of Wrestling goes. But I want to get your thoughts. What the Scumbags 100? How was that? I mean, did it go as well or as bad as you planned? And did you ever count how many swear words were said in the entire show?
No, there was no count. That was probably our highest amount of swearing because we try to keep it family friendly. But, you know, at the same time, if it comes out, it comes out. We're no more talking. It's not every third word an F-bomb or anything. So I'm down with it. Like, I'm not worried. And we had a good panel of roundtable. 6 of us were on, including Clarence and Daniel. And, a lot of things got discussed with WrestleMania. And, you know, we're just going to start with episode 101 this weekend, talking a lot about the stuff that we just discussed earlier tonight with the whole releases and Howard Finkel and the bribes, non-bribes. You know, so it's a lot of stuff coming up this weekend when I record it. And, unfortunately, with everything shut down, there is no production line from the Tyson Dukes Wrestle Factory, and there's no independent wrestling shows happening. So the Ontario Indie Road Trip that happens on Facebook and YouTube is shut down for now. So
you realize the name of the show, right, for people watching and for maybe actual people on the show is Thursday Night Throwdown, right?
Yes.
So you're aware of the initials that go along with that show, the Thursday Night Throwdown?
Are we hinting at an argument that got brought up about the network and this, and regarding a really poorly named TV title for AEW, that the tournament is very much telegraphed to be Cody and Archer in the finals?
So one of my goals that I'd never mentioned on the show, and don't get me wrong, we're only into episode number 14, but the fact is I wanted to create this championship. So when, pay-per-views happen and we do predictions and stuff like that, it's a traveling championship, much like the 24/7 championship. But whoever wins the pay-per-view, we eventually, indie show, whatever, to pass on that championship to somebody else. Championship might be known as, the TNT championship that somebody shit all over on Sunday. So, anyways, Steven, your thoughts on the name of the TNT championship?
Okay, it's different from a podcast to a national-wide wrestling company. So there's a big difference. If you owned a goddamn wrestling company. Why would the hell you would name a title after your TV company that you may not be on in 5 years? Stupid. You doing a podcast, you'll always have that name.
Well, that means in that rate, I guess in 5 years or whenever their contract ends, we could end up seeing the Spike title.
I guess so. It's stupid. Oh,
if that even exists.
I just read. Did you see what the Revival's new name's going to be?
Is it just
the Revolt?
The Revolt?
Yeah.
Gimmick infringement.
We got to get Jordan James on this show.
Alec Realm and Jordan James need to take them down.
They just sent patents in for the Revolt and Fear the Revolt.
Uh-oh.
Hashtag FTR, Fear the Revolt.
Yeah. But we'll go back to what you said. There's two big differences. They're a national wrestling company. You're a podcast. You'll always have the name TNT. There's difference. They may not have TNT if they keep putting horseshit tag matches on like last week in a week from now. God damn it. Big difference. I can live with you naming your title TNT because it makes sense. They hopefully will be out of business within a year because of the stupid shit they're doing. Then they can all go kiss Vince McMahon's ring to get jobs so they can get money, I guess.
So how about the YouTube championship?
Oh, for fuck's sakes.
All right, Jones. What are you thinking as far as maybe trivia in the next 2 weeks?
I'm kind of ready to go. It's just how to present it. That's all.
Yeah, well, I mean, anybody can't do worse than Chris Jericho, by the way. He had Kevin Smith on his show, and he had a laptop beside him, and Kevin Smith was on his laptop because Jericho couldn't figure out how to put him on. And so anyways, I'm going to take credit for this, even though I wasn't given proper credit for it, but I was watching on Saturday night, and Jericho's like, if anybody has any ideas on how to do this better, how to have live guests and everything else. Sure enough, I'm like, go to StreamYard. You can broadcast on YouTube and Facebook all at once. So Jericho is now on StreamYard. So I'm going to take credit for that one. But anyways, yeah, thank you, Shawn. Anyways, this has been nothing more than a rambling show, but it's been nice. I mean, wrestling is shut down, so we talk about pretty much whatever the hell we want to right now. So if you have any thoughts for show ideas, any interviews that you want to see coming up, definitely message me or message the show or Thursday Night Throwdown at outlook.com. Again, sad news about Howard Finkel. He was one of the best. He definitely paved the way for a lot of other announcers, everything else. And tributes had come in today from Renee Young and, even Impact Wrestling had commented on that as well. So, Steven, welcome guest. Anytime you want to be on the show, Jones, we're going to set up this trivia thing. Daniel, we'll maybe get him back. Maybe we'll turn that into the YouTube championship right there. The belt that he had on Shawn's show. But anything else you guys want to add before we sign off?
No, I think I'm good.
I'm good.
It's about $200 to get your own belt.
Yes.
Wait, what?
It's $200 to get a belt and get designed.
A lot of the belts that the indie people order are like $200 belts.
I think that's where Midwestern got theirs.
Huh. $200, eh?
It looks like their design.
See, that's why when I do my show, the person that gets the championship belt can take it home because you can always buy another one.
And I know some people who have paid some artists to do some artwork for them for about $200.
Yep.
All right, guys. On that note, thanks for being part of the show. Steven, I will forgive your comments about Omega. We will eventually see eye to eye about that guy. But
no, never. Not a chance.
And like I said, we will see a TNT championship happen on the show eventually. So anyways, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we will see everybody next week.
See ya.
Ciao.